Pastor Rich Wilkerson Jr. is unapologetically a friend of sinners, and over the years, he's taken some flack for it. Take a look.
Rich Wilkerson Jr. is the pastor of VOO Church in Miami, Florida. He's also the pastor to celebrities and professional athletes, which means Rich gets a lot of questions about who he spends time with and why.
I believe everybody in the world is hungry to get a glimpse of who Jesus is. But many times it's church people who are unwilling to get out of the way, and therefore they can't see him.
In his book, Friend of Sinners, Rich shines a spotlight on a powerful message of faith, hope, and grace that will impact your life forever.
And please welcome back to the 700 Club, Rich Wilkerson. Rich, great to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me, Wendy.
Congrats
Appreciate
on
it.
the new book.
I'm so excited about it. It's been a busy season in our life, but a fun one for sure.
So much to talk about. Well, you've received a lot of questions and some flack about your celebrity friends. The Bieb, Justin Bieber, Kanye West, Selena. We can name drop all day, but you've turned this. Rather, how did you turn all those questions you get about celebrity friends into a book, Friend of Sinners?
Well, this is my second book. I wrote a book 2 years ago called Sandcastle Kings, and actually you guys let me come on here and chat about it. And while I was doing some of that stuff pressed around it, people kept asking me some of these questions. How can you be friends with this person or that person? And it was somewhat perplexing to me because I'm going, have you studied the life of Jesus? Jesus is the friend of sinners. And that's what they called him. That was his nickname. And the reason why was because he was on a mission to save people, to love people.
That's right.
And so as you read the New Testament, what you find out about Jesus is he's always in these places that maybe society says that he does not belong. Yet he was doing so with a purpose and a plan. And I think really this book is a book, the subtitle is Why Jesus Cares More About Relationship Than Perfection.
Right.
And so the heart of this book is that you would discover God's love for you, that God is for you. You'd be reminded of the gospel. But as you encounter that gospel and that grace for yourselves, I think as you exhale this faith to reach people yourself. And you become a friend of sinners.
God sees you. That's the first chapter I went to because that's the one I wanted to know about the most. Why do you think, Rich, that so many Christians are reluctant to have friends outside the church?
Well, I think many times what we're afraid of is we're afraid of areas that we can't control. And I think sometimes we get nervous going, am I going to be influenced or are they going to influence me? And I think there's no doubt about it. You study the life of Jesus. He had 12 guys that had the same convictions, that were on the same path as he was, that he was doing life with. Out of that 12, he had 3 friends that were really his foundational guys that he stuck with. I think the same thing for every believer, that we need to be yoked up with people that are going in the same direction. But I think we have to have this same mentality as Jesus to go, man, I came to love people. And if we're going to ever change the world, we won't do so not being a part of it. And so whatever we avoid, I think darkness tends to invade. That's what I love so much about CBN is your guys' intentionality to go where people are, go to people's homes with the good news.
Be in the world, but not of the world.
Absolutely.
And of course, Jesus was without sin. He was perfect. But say somebody, they've come out of addiction, they've come out of pornography, something, and they've come out of a lifestyle of sin. And so now they're a believer, and maybe they're afraid to be friends with the unchurched because they don't want to fall back into that. So that's wisdom. There's some wisdom there, right?
There's absolutely wisdom. And I think, once again, I think the foundational message of this book is discovering God's love and his outworking, his reach towards us. I think you absolutely have to have wisdom, parameters, boundaries. You have to know who you are, where you're at. And I think you got to have the right people in your life as a foundational force. People are either going to push you forward or pull you back. I want to get people in my life that are pushing me forward.
Rich, why do you think it was so important for Jesus to hang out with the sinners, to be their friend? And he was persecuted for it. He was called a wine bibber or drunkard, and you're hanging out with the prostitutes. I mean, but he didn't care.
Well, I think what's important to discover is that as Jesus was criticized, his famous saying back to the Pharisees at that time, as they called him the friend of sinners, he said, I didn't come for the healthy. I came for the sick.
Amen.
And I even think when they heard that, they might have gone, oh, we like that phrase. That'll tweet, that'll Instagram. And the point was that they had missed out what he was saying. He was saying, I've come for everybody, but it's only those that recognize that they're in need of me. Meaning, all of us are the sinners. Sinner doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Sin, by definition, in the Bible means that I'm dead. And so Jesus didn't come to make bad people good. He came to make dead people alive. And he's come to be all of our friends. We just have to recognize that we're in need of his friendship.
Well, in addition to your new book, you have a new baby.
Yes.
And there is a story behind this baby. You and your wife, Dawn Cherie, went through, what, 10 years of infertility?
We've been married for 11 years. And then about 8 years ago, we started trying to have children. And that's when we discovered that we were going to have a bit of a journey in front of us. And so after 8 years of trying, believing, praying, we just had our miracle son just 8 weeks ago. Literally. His name is Wyatt Wesley Wilkerson. So if you notice, his initials are WWW.
Right.
So the big joke is World Wide Web. I don't think people even use WWW anymore, but he's triple dub in our house. And so it's Wyatt Wesley.
I mean, that's a long, had that journey of infertility. I mean, what did you guys learn through that?
I think we learned so much, you know, and always looking back, it's always easier to connect the dots and it's always easier to be thankful. I learned that a waiting season doesn't have to be a wasted season and that we can learn to discover who Jesus is. I think I learned more about God in those last 8 years than I have any other time. And big thing for my wife and I is that we came to this place where we said, whether we have a child or not, we're complete in Jesus. We have all that we have in him. And so about 3 or 4 years ago, my wife, who teaches publicly, she shared her story for the first time of not being able to have children. And so she sort of testified, if you will, from the valley. And what was cool about that is that 4 years later, after she has the miracle, it's been so much fun because people all around us, around the world, have celebrated with us. And I think it's just a good story about when you go through the trials with people in the valley, it makes the miracles and the mountaintops that much better. And so we've just felt the love from all over the world, and we're grateful.
A new book, a new baby, a thriving church down in Miami called the VU.
VU Church.
Which I just found out is short for rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
I love it.
Place.
I love it. So a lot going on.
I like that pink book in your hand, by the way.
I do
awesome
too. It goes great with my dress. Okay. Rich's latest book is called Friend of Sinners, and it's available wherever books are sold. Plus, you can hear more from Rich in a social exclusive interview on our Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/700club. Rich, it's always a pleasure.
So grateful. Thanks for having me. We love you guys.
Amen. We love you guys too.